like to call to order the March 4th Milford City Council meeting. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Jackie, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Mayor. Mayor Evans?
Here.
Vice Mayor Parrish?
Here.
Mr. Velardo?
Here.
Mr. Price?
Here.
Mr. Thompson?
Here.
Ms. Cooper?
Here.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Here. That takes us to proceedings. Do I have a motion to approve the council meeting proceedings from February 18th?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
And takes us to financial statements. Do I have a motion to adopt the January 2025 financial report?
So moved. Second.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
And that brings us to public comments. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a comment? All right, see none. We have no standing committee reports, but now we will, I need a roll call to enter into the committee of the whole meeting.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes. And we have another public comment section. I assume nobody still wants to comment. All right, then I will turn it over to Mr. Gunderson.
Thank you, Mayor. To start the committee of the whole, I wanted to discuss the water meter topic again. I discussed this last meeting, specifically that of when, say, a home is built. Okay, we sell them a water meter, that's how we charge them a water bill, sewer bill, et cetera. We have been significantly subsidizing the purchase of those water meters. So within the packet itself, it's the same items that was brought to the last meeting. This time we just created a ordinance for council to consider, but due to those costs, you know, they unfortunately will not stay the same forever. To ensure that we don't have to come back each time they're adjusted, we put language in there that allows for us to work off of what our true cost is, plus 10% for administrative costs associated with the paperwork and so forth. So within that packet itself, I have provided, or we have provided, what each of the components currently costs. So we have the meter itself, but then we also have what they call adders that are in addition to the meter that allow for it to work properly. So my recommendation to council is that we make it that of cost plus 10%, but written within the ordinance itself is it's going to be listed in our fee schedule, which is something that we will create and amend yearly to ensure that all of our fees are up to date and covering costs.
Do I have questions for Mr. Gunderson about that?
I would make a recommendation that the law director draft an ordinance amending section 921.08 of the codified ordinances of the city of Milford regarding the installation of residential landscape meters. Second.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Thank you. Second on the list is the 2025 Community Parks Improvement Grant through the Claremont County Park District. Within my city manager report, I'll sort of discuss this, but I did meet with the Claremont County Parks District to discuss this grant program further. We do have the opportunity to receive up to $20,000 for park improvements. Of course, this is something that you can't have already completed and then tried to pass. My recommendation to council is, and I've been able to discuss this certainly far more internally, but with a few members, is pickleball courts. I'm really determined to bring pickleball courts to the community. I've received quite a few emails regarding pickleball courts, and there seems to be a good amount of interest for that. I would like pickleball courts to be close to the downtown, because when people are playing pickleball and they're leaving, they want something to eat or drink, or they want to potentially shop. So if it's in close proximity to downtown, it makes sense logistically. So my plan is to submit 4 pickleball courts to be placed at either Riverside 1 or 2. My recommendation is Riverside 2, but that's up to discussion at this point. So I simply just need council to give me the okay to submit for that purpose.
I would say, do you have to be so specific that you have to put a location, or can we just say pickleball for a place to be determined?
That is what I discussed, and to my understanding is we do not have to list a specific location, just the use itself. And quite frankly, in the resolution itself, it doesn't even request that we're that specific. It's just simply we're applying for.
I'd
that
certainly
criteria.
like to leave it open just for whatever
Yeah,
reason, no
yeah.
matter where we end up putting them,
Yeah.
if we get it.
Because that could be a discussion we have later if we
Right,
get the grant.
So,
Want us to vote? Anybody against all courts? We just do it all in favor?
so we would do what we would need
Resolution, yeah.
Oh.
for a
Oh, we
resolution
have to have- we
authorizing the
actually have a
submittal
resolution,
of
okay.
the application to the Claremont County
There you go.
Park District Community Parks Grant Program.
We do.
Second.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper? Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
And I will say, part of the application itself, it says, please list a photograph of the project site that may be affected. During my discussion, I did let them know that there are a few sites, Sem Park being one of them, because there's tennis courts there, so that's a very easy one to resurface, so they know that's coming. Alrighty, thank you. Next discussion, let me skip the next 2. Let's just go to the farmers market rules and regulations, because that's the last piece of paper that council has. This year, we're looking to expand our farmers market. We're looking to change the location. It'll still be at 5 Points, but instead of in that back area by the dog park, we're looking to bring it into the park. So it's visible. We have more opportunities for growth. We also products, but that of if there's a downtown business and they want to have a booth, where we can connect the downtown businesses to the farmers market. When I think of farmers markets, I don't think of only produce. It's unique vendors that have handcrafted items. It could be baked goods, stuff of that nature. So before you, and this is simply just a discussion for Council Parks and Rec Committee next week to review and provide any recommendations. It's pretty straightforward. We did amend the hours to include 9 to 1. Once again, that can be redlined and amended, and this year's. A lot of it in terms of the licenses, inspections, and so forth is the same as last year. So I just ask council review that and provide any feedback as necessary.
The first thing that jumps out real quick, why only the second and fourth Saturday?
That's exactly what I was gonna ask the
Because
question.
I think the biggest thing on anything is consistent numbers, what the second, they look at a calendar or whatever. I would like to think that if you had it every Saturday or whatever day you want to choose, if it is Saturday, that it should be consistent.
I
And
thought we discussed every Saturday, but I know we also discussed cost of staff to be there, so I don't know.
Right, and one of the things, that has been tossed around is just, or the need of, but not that we're gonna hire somebody as a manager for that, because there was a lot of overtime spent for guys setting up tables,
Sure.
that kind of stuff. Now, maybe we can get around that with volunteers from the Parks and Rec Committee. We open the doors and we have, doesn't mean they have to set up every table, that kind of stuff. So maybe there's some ways to alleviate that, and I don't know if that was why that was about the second and fourth, but.
I think it was more of that financial side of things. Not to say that that's what we have to stick with. If council said let's do it every week, then I think the Parks and Rec Committee would be on board with that side of things.
I just
agree.
think you,
People like
you-
it in
yeah,
every Saturday.
consistency.
Yes, I
You
think
just know it's
consistency.
Saturday, the farmer's market.
Well,
You-
and also for like vendor interest too,
Right.
like they're not gonna necessarily,
Give up
if
a
every
Saturday.
market is once a week, most markets that we
Right.
have in our area, I think it's gonna be hard to find people to commit to twice.
Yeah, because what are they gonna do on the other,
Right,
Right.
yeah, and they've got produce to sell, they're gonna wanna sell their produce.
Noted.
Or anything else, bread
And
or
if
whatever.
you're considering opening it up to other vendors, I'm assuming then, part of the reason probably in last summer, the setup and the tear down with city staff was because it was all the provided matching tents. So is that a look that you wanted to continue? Or if you're expanding and allowing other vendors to come in and bringing their own tables, tents, whatever, then it could be their responsibility to set up. I mean, in my retail store, I've done a lot of away games. Never once has anybody set anything up or taken anything down.
Yeah. Yeah, and I, if I remember correctly, I think there's 10 tents, 10 tables for. So hopefully, I mean, the idea is to expand way beyond that, so we wouldn't even have enough. I mean, kind of along those same lines, but yes, I agree. I mean, it doesn't have to be set up, and I would bet you most market vendors would agree that they don't have that service.
You think of other, I know I've been to Loveland. Now Loveland does set up they do that, but I don't know that others provide the tent. And,
And
since
they
we,
look nice because they all match, but
Yeah, they-
again, they're expensive, and if we're gonna expand, I think people can
Right.
bring their own.
I agree.
And we did have, a vendor that did have their own
Yeah.
because it was all part of their
Personalized.
marketing.
right.
Right.
True,
package
yeah,
that we
there's that,
allowed to
yeah.
use,
Yeah.
so-
Yeah, good point.
Another thing, because you mentioned it, we talked about for eligible products, we talked about letting downtown businesses come. So like, let's say the new, is it Heritage Store, like, so if they brought stuff, I don't know how we were gonna word that, but that wouldn't necessarily be handcrafted, but we said they could bring their stuff up and sell it.
Yes.
I don't know how we can put that in there or word that.
Yeah, we'll come up with something. Do we want to, and I know this is just the first conversation, do we want to limit it solely to downtown businesses, or should it be just, I mean,
I think
we're not gonna have a car probably show up in, on the grass area, but where if it's just a Milford business.
I would put Milford business, right, because
Within the city.
especially
Within the
as we
city
continue to
limits.
grow,
Yeah.
right? I don't want to have to come back and readdress it just because now we put the
Right.
word downtown in there. Let's make it,
True,
let's
the Milford
future-proof it a
business,
little bit.
yeah.
I agree.
And not to be despair, I wouldn't want to see, Frontier Days, the perfect, where they bring those vendors in, where they sell all that
Right.
kind of stuff. I would not want that,
Right,
you
yeah.
know, an opportunity.
Like a roofing company or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless they're,
Well, I
if they're
wouldn't even,
Milford
I was
business.
talking more the spinners and the,
Oh, like the,
yeah. the-
Carnival.
Funnel
Carnival-
cakes.
Carnival
yeah,
games.
The carnival-ish
yes,
games, or toys.
yes.
All right, so if council would just take one quick look over that and then provide any follow-up, I would appreciate that. All right, jumping back up to Clartoma Park. This has gone through both the Park and Recs Committee. I think it was discussed at the Tree Committee. We did have someone that was interested in, sorry to get you all excited down there.
Sorry.
Well, no, I was just saying, I'm really glad we're not.
The
gonna
live
allow sale
animals.
of Live animals.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
And then I have a cough.
no goats. We did have someone that was interested in Clartoma Park, for that if the city was interested in selling the park and, for redevelopment purposes. I'm not gonna necessarily provide an opinion, I just wanted to see what council's thoughts are on that. This has been a topic that's been discussed internally multiple times, and, we do have a park that's pretty close. It is a bit of an awkward park back there, not to say that it doesn't serve a purpose, The particular person has expressed interest in putting a house back there, not to say he's the only one interested, he or she's the only one interested, or that's the only, use that we can get out of that. But I did want to run that by council and see if anyone had any thoughts about, if council said, hey, we want to keep it a park and end of story. Council said, hey, we would explore this opportunity further, we like to, then we can discuss next steps, but I just kind of wanted to get a feeler on that.
So I have a couple of thoughts already off the bat. Number one, kind of the access road, I call it driveway or roadway that goes back into that park seems particularly narrow. From a modern zoning standpoint, is there even enough room for back there? I don't want to sell it to someone who wants to build a house and then landlocked, right? Second thought is, have we tried to get any feelings of the Clertoma, how often their kids might be back in that park? It isn't, but in the to go back there, there's generally kids playing back there, right? So I don't necessarily, I'm not against or for this. I'm just saying I don't want to take away, there is Garfield Park across the way, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to cut off some kids' only access to a basketball court there, even though it has huge cracks in it, because granted they can go across the street, but that's not as big of a park. I would like to try to get some sort of community feedback from the folks in Clertoma Village on how they would feel about that park going away before the city makes any decisions that would impact where their kids have available to play.
So as it relates to the driveway, that's a very good point. That's something we'd have to discuss and figure out what would need to happen in order for that to take place. It is very narrow. And in terms of talking to the residents, I have not done that, because had I done something like that and council said, hey, I'm not going to consider this, well then we would have potentially a neighborhood here, voicing their concerns, and council is perhaps blindsided by that. Council, I got council's point of view or viewpoints or opinions on this before I took next steps. So I think that's a very good thing to take into consideration is how they feel.
That's all I've got, everyone.
Anybody else thoughts?
Well, I assume it's zoned residential. I mean, would there be a zoning change, and then that might, in due process,
We can kind of control that.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm less worried about the zoning. To my knowledge, I spoke with our former law director in terms of the property itself. There's, to his knowledge, no deed restrictions on this. That's been something that's thrown out. He did recommend doing a title search to be 100% sure, but that idea had been thrown out there, or that statement. So I wanted to make sure that there wasn't something like that. To his knowledge, there isn't anything. However, he did state that predated his time. So throwing that out there for whatever it's worth.
I don't think that there's not a lot there. I know there's a basketball court, like, we don't have a lot of equipment there. If we did, and again, I'm not convinced one way or the other for sure, but if we did sell it, we could take that money and maybe invest some money into the parks, towards pickleball courts or towards something else at Garfield. Like, I don't think there's a basketball hoop at Garfield, but maybe we put a new one over there so they could go there and shoot basketball, because it's so close.
And I don't know if we've ever, the people that actually their backyards are in the park.
Right.
I feel like maybe there's an option would somebody be interested in purchasing
Right.
part of the, to increase their back before we totally allow somebody else to come in and build a house.
Each of the adjoining homeowners that want to purchase part of it.
Yeah, like I would love to hear from the neighborhood. Who's using the park? How often is the park used? What would they like to see in the park? Would the residents that live at adjoining property, I mean, is that a possibility? That
Recommendation, we send out notification to abutting property owners, something we're discussing, and they can either submit their feedback via email, but we would recommend they come in person and provide that feedback. So that way they have the opportunity to, have a say in it, but also, we can get their feedback.
They're gonna know how often it's used, because they look at it every day in their backyards.
Right.
It would be nice for them to show up so we can have some of that conversation versus a document. But, so maybe what I'll do, I don't want to commit to next meeting, because it'd be nice to give them time so they can think about it and maybe work around their schedules to be here. So maybe if we plan for the first meeting in April, does that sound all right? And
Yeah.
and if some of them want to show up, okay, then we will plan on doing that. And this was simply just for discussion. I just want to make sure I was on the same page as council, so I appreciate it. Last thing I wanted to discuss, unless there's any questions or comments before moving on, is the 5 Points Landing Park. We have discussed that of the irrigation. We received that grant through the state. The irrigation, we have received a few just rough estimates, and it's, you know, well over our threshold for bidding. So it'll have to go out to bid anyways. I know the Community Sustainability Commission or committee has discussed that of, can we recycle the water? So that's something that we have tried to explore, and I don't know if we've received a quote back for that, but we have requested that from all the companies that have submitted. Point being, we need to get on this. We need to get these bids. We're running into, you know, spring here shortly, and we need irrigation. So my plan is to, by March 17th, I put on the staff report, if council says you wait an extra week and then proceed, I can certainly do so, but start opening up that bid process. Probably what I'll look to do is we'll, and Mr. Law Director, please tell me the proper wording. We'll submit for, or we'll ask for proposals related to the irrigation, and then we'll make it a second category. I'm striking out on words where if we can recycle the water, what will that be in
Reclaim.
addition?
Yeah, reclaim.
Reclaiming, but in terms of their bid, like an addition,
It's a regular system or a system where.
Yeah.
Something that would be.
Option A.
option A.
Potable,
So,
non-potable.
so that way we can, you know, decide, hey, we're gonna just do regular irrigation, or B, we can decide, hey, this makes sense, let's recycle the water. But it'd be nice to see those numbers and approach it across the board, so.
Is-
ca-
I'm sorry.
No.
Would that water have to be treated in any way? If kids are playing in the fountain with sunscreen and all that, can that water then just be used in the grass?
Yeah,
I
don't
think
see
that's an
why.
open question.
You see it all the time where it's posted, and again,
Yeah.
it's law director, but it's non-drinkable water, non-potable water, whatever word you wanna use.
For the irrigation?
But I
Yeah,
also,
for irrigation.
I would also think the companies that are gonna submit bids for this
They'll do
would
that.
be subject matter experts and would be able to tell us
Right.
whether or not that's something we could do.
Agreed.
Either way, don't drink the water off the grass.
We have signs
I
for
mean,
that.
even like for the grass, isn't
Right.
it?
Right.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Don't drink out of the hose. Don't drink out of the-
And that is all I have, unless questions or if there's anything else that we would like to discuss.
Any more discussion? Okay, then do I have a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Okay, back to our regular meeting, and we have the city manager report.
Thank you. Alrighty, the city manager report was provided to council. I'll just touch on a few things related to my category, and then you can read the rest. I know we've got both chiefs here who will speak on their section. Staff has conducted multiple interviews with prospective IT companies. So far, we have received 2 quotes, and they're under review. We're hoping to get another quote so we can just sort of make sure that we're doing our due diligence. They've been very productive meetings. Both quotes have come back higher than what we're paying now, but the scope of the work's a little bit different than what we're getting now as well. So that is under review. I've attended several meetings. Claremont County Park District, I met with them to discuss the grant for the 2025 Community Parks Improvement Grant. I attended the Milford Fire Department board meeting. That was my first board meeting, and it was short and sweet. But we also had the opportunity to promote a firefighter afterwards. I'm sure Chief will discuss that. Hopefully, I didn't steal his thunder. But that was nice to get some exposure to the board, and that was my first meeting. I also attended the Claremont County 911 Committee meeting. Although we utilize Hamilton County for our dispatch, I am required to sit on the committee meeting, and they've got lots of good improvements upcoming, and I was able to provide some feedback for what it's worth. Staff also had a meeting to discuss the Wallace Avenue water tower. We've got some new faces at the table, so I wanted to catch everyone up to speed. We are looking to make a few minor changes. I want the water tower to look good. I don't want it to just be a blob. So to me, we need to brand it, and it needs, that's what people see when they look up in the sky to some extent, so I want it to look good, and so forth. I attended the Ohio City Manager Association OCMA conference last week in Columbus. I thought that was a very good conference. Learned a lot and came back with a lot of energy and enthusiasm. So that was nice. The Water Department Supervisor interviews will begin March 6th, this Thursday. We've got some pretty solid candidates, and we're looking forward to getting those interviews underway and establishing that next leader in that department. In conjunction with that, I wanted to congratulate 2 Water Department employees, Camden and Antonio, for passing their lab certification so they can complete the weekend reporting. This is a big step, and they were pretty excited, so I'm happy for them. So I wanted to congratulate them during the council meeting. Discuss the bidding for the 5 Points Landing, so that'll go out no later than March 17th. And then we've got a upcoming Milford CIC meeting on tomorrow. I bring that up because I think that the CIC, I will eventually want to discuss this with council and the benefits of the CIC. And I know it's been used in the past to some extent, but I think there's a lot of ways that we can leverage that for economic development. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and more information to come. So that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Anybody? Okay.
All right.
All right,
Thank
thank you, Mr. Gunderson. That takes us to Chief Mills. Here he comes.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Council. So I'm still putting the finishing touches on my February report, but I wanted to give you a few nuggets tonight. Our new officer, you may remember Joey Matson, has spent his first week meeting key stakeholders. That's a new aspect to the field training. Application deadline to March 14th, so anyone that is either OPATA certified or in the police academy now is eligible. If you're already working full-time, you are eligible for lateral entry. Means you don't have to take the written examination on National Testing Network. If you're in the academy or you just recently graduated and have not sought or been employed full-time, then you have to take that National Testing Network test to get on our eligibility list. Last week, I had the opportunity to be the guest speaker at the Miami Woods monthly meeting. Today, we were interviewed by Local 12 about Project Lifesaver and efforts to get state funding so other communities can participate in that. And lastly, a big thanks to the service department for painting and installing cabinets down here at the station. Really appreciate their hard work.
All right, thank you.
Questions?
I do want to say this new onboarding experience that Chief has created. I was fortunate to be able to join that last week. He let me join in. He felt bad I was begging too much, but to be able to meet the stakeholders and community so people can see who our new officers are, they have that. It was just an awesome experience. I only went to one, but I know that on the private side of things, people are appreciating that as well. So I wanted to give kudos to Chief because I thought that was excellent.
Thank you. You reminded me. Today I received, and not just myself, Officer Matson and Field Training Officer Clark, we all received very heartfelt written cards from Tammy Bonner, one of the stakeholders from Calvary Methodist Church. Each came with a little baby Jesus. So I sent her a screenshot and thanked her for that. But it was really nice to receive that today.
Very nice.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. That takes us to Fire and EMS. Chief Baird.
Hello, good evening. Just a few things. I won't take up too much of your time, but I am incredibly proud to announce that we were the recipient of a $50,000 donation from the former Day Heights Memorial Firefighters Association. as it concludes its nonprofit status and liquidates. That $50,000 donation is going to be used to purchase 11 new mobile radios to replace equipment that is not able to be brought up to current standards for security updates that we're required to install on all of our radios, and also to install wireless headsets in the ladder truck, as Ralph and Mr. Thompson could tell you, that ladder truck, when you're in the back of it, all you hear is engine noise. You can't hear what's going on up in the front, where the important orders and other stuff are coming out from the officer in charge to tell you what they expect you to do when you arrive. So that's a big deal for us. It's our first foray into wireless headsets, but a lot of departments use them with great success, and so we're going to kind of start a project that we've been only talking about for about 20 years or more with this truck. But I just want to thank the remaining members of the Day Heights Memorial Firefighters Association. They took care of a lot of first responder agencies, including our police department and a number of school and food pantries and the like. So I think they did a lot of good with what in their, as they bowed out. So thanks to that organization. We did have a very nice ceremony to promote one of our own, firefighter paramedic Ryan Woodruff, to lieutenant. Ryan is one of our newer firefighters, comes to us from the New Richmond area, worked his way through from part-time to full-time, into paramedic school, and then was promoted to lieutenant earlier, and we're now have all of our open officer positions full, and we're very happy for that, and he's doing a great job, and congratulations to him. We have, many of you know, the 2012 pumper, normally our primary fire truck, was damaged when the road plate collapsed on Lila Avenue in front of Mac back in December. We have the insurance company, our insurance company has worked to get everything taken care of. We expect the parts to be delivered this week to the vendor who's going to do the repairs, and we're hoping to have that truck back in service within the next 3 weeks. It just took forever with supply chain or whatever the issues were. I know the exhaust system had to be especially constructed for that truck because it was a custom truck when it was purchased in 2012. $16,277 was the damage on it, so we're looking forward to getting it back. We're missing that truck. Unit 2 crew participated in our annual chili luncheon and chair volleyball at Sim Terrace last Tuesday and absolutely got schooled once again. But with all that trash talk and other taunting that the residents over there bring to us every year, that is absolutely one of our favorite activities that we do PR-wise. They're beating us up pretty badly in a lot of different ways, but you can also tell that they have a great deal of respect for the first responders in our community, and it was a lot of fun. And really, other than that, I think I've reported everything. Do you have any questions for us?
Somebody?
I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All right, that takes us to council comments. Would anybody from council like to make a comment?
The one thing I did attend, our most recent JED that we signed with Children's Hospital. They had their first organizational board meeting. So they will open about 30 days from now, so we'll start seeing the revenue that comes into that JED. So that's all I got.
Right. Awesome. Anybody else?
I just want to remind the community that next Wednesday on March 12th at 6:30, we're going to have, excuse me, the Art and Science of Pruning with Taking Root, and that'll take place upstairs in the Harry Hodges room.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? All right, that takes us to Mr. Pacheco.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 2025-660, a resolution authorizing the submittal of a community park improvement grant application to the Claremont County Park District for partial reimbursement for expenses for the improvements to the City of Milford community parks. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Milford, Ohio, Section 1. City Council hereby expresses its support for, and the City Manager is hereby authorized to apply for, a community park improvement grant to the Claremont County Park District to partially reimburse the city for expenses for improvements to the City of Milford community parks. Section 2, under and in accordance with Section 12.05 of the Milford City Charter. This resolution shall come be effective immediately upon its passage by City Council.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Ordinance number 25-342, an ordinance amending Section 92108, adding subsection C to provide for the expenses of providing water meters. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Milford, Ohio, Section 1, Section 921.08C of the codified ordinances of the City of Milford, Ohio shall be amended to read as follows. Section C, to pay for the city's cost to purchase the water meter and necessary equipment accessories, owners shall pay such cost to the city in accordance with the fee schedule established by the city manager. This fee schedule may be amended from
By title only.
Second.
Velardo?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
ordinance number 25-342, an ordinance amending Section 921.08, adding subsection C to provide for the expenses of providing water meters.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Pacheco. That
Thank you,
takes us to old business.
Ms. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session pursuant to 1 of the Milford City Charter for the sole purpose to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual, unless the public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual requests a public hearing, returning to regular session only to adjourn from regular session.
Second.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
All right, so again, we'll only be returning from executive session to adjourn the meeting. So if any of you need anything signed for school, we can do that before we go to executive session. No? Okay. Thank you all for coming.